Welcome to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DiFazio, joined today by Kevin Deitrich and Joe Deitrich, partners at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And to our viewers in Central Pennsylvania, welcome to the show. We love having you with us each and every week. Today's topic is very important. If you're retiring with a pension, think about this for just a little bit. Let's say you're starting a long road trip and you're handed a car that has a really strong engine. Well, that engine is going to need a little bit of service along the way so you can make it through the duration of your trip. Now, what about your pension? A lot of people think of that as like that's their guaranteed paycheck coming in. But are there some things that are essential that you should be thinking about around the pension? That's what today's show is all about. Thank you for being with us. We can't wait to dive right in. And Joe, how are you today?
Hey, it's a great day. It's good to see you, Cynthia.
It's a great day. I love being with you both. Kevin, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful.
Great to see you.
It's so good to see both of you. And I love how we communicate each week between the shows, if you will. And coming up with this topic for our viewers in Central Pennsylvania is for a reason. There's a lot of people that are in the education field, if you will. And when you think about that, healthcare workers, a lot of people are retiring with a pension. And a lot of people look at that like that is their guaranteed income source for retirement. But there are some essential things that you need to realize before we get going with that pension. So let's talk about that. What is the first thing that someone should understand about their pension before they retire? Joe?
Yeah, there's a few things that we want to understand about our pension. And I think you're right. In our area, we found that maybe a little disproportionately larger portion of the population have pensions than maybe across the country. And that's a wonderful tool to have. State workers, healthcare, school districts, that sort of thing. So if that's you, pay attention today. Today is definitely for you.
Yes.
And first and foremost, we need to understand the elements of what makes up our pension. And we get these questions all the time. I get all this paperwork. I don't know what options I should choose, what's going on there. Right. So even years before you get to that decision, start educating yourself as to what your pension program specifically looks like. What kind of payouts are offered? How do you calculate the amount that you're going to receive forever?
Yes.
There's a couple of things. What's the vesting schedule? You certainly don't want to be in a situation where you think you've got a pension and it's not quite what you thought. So early education is very, very good. Understand what it is you're working with.
Sure, and a lot of people have so many questions regarding a pension. Kevin, I'm sure it can be very confusing. Were you going to add something to Joe's point?
Yeah, the vesting schedule is like how many years you've worked for the company. There's usually a limit that you have to, or a maximum you have to work to be able to receive the full pension. Right. You can take so many different options: single life, joint life with survivor. I mean, there's so many different options. Lump sum, and so it can be very confusing. And making the wrong decision can really cost you, your family, for decades to come.
Most definitely, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Kevin, because I wanted to ask you about survivor benefit options. How do they affect a married couple in retirement? What happens with that? Yeah,
so typically when you have a pension, you have choices to make. Whether you're single life, which means you just take a larger payout for your life. When your life ends, the money stops. A joint life would be if you were married and you would take a reduced payout. Not that much reduced, but reduced payout for you and your wife, or vice versa. So those are the main options. If something would happen to you as a husband, you took the pension, your wife would continue receiving 100% or 50% or whatever percentage you chose. And the amounts would be different for each percentage.
Okay, that's very important to understand.
Sure.
Yeah. Broad brush, these are those two camps, and then there's a lot of nuance as you get into it depending upon your plan specific, and that's where Kevin gave you kind of the broad brush numbers there.
Yes.
If you're taking a survivor benefit, you're going to take a little bit less monthly, but what are you getting for that, right? You're getting the peace of mind that if something happens to me or something happens to my spouse, if it's their pension, that income continues. It doesn't go away.
That's really important. If there's an age difference between, we see a lot of folks that are, there's 10, 15 years age difference between the husband and the wife. And, and the husband wants to, or should, and most of the time wants to make sure the wife is taken care of. And so they have to make that decision. So there's so many different factors. And like, we work with a lot of state workers. And a lot of state workers, their plan, there might be option 1, A and B, option 2, A, B, and C. Each option is different. And you have to read their fine print and it just can be very overwhelming. So if you have a pension
Yes.
and you have availability to have the pension, which is you're blessed to do, come on in and see us. Bring the statements in. We'll show you what the options are.
I love that, Kevin. Thank you. And Joe, one of the things that we're hearing so often, we're hearing, and probably this is you at home as well, that you're being offered the lump sum for your pension versus monthly payments. Joe, talk a little bit about that, if you could, please. When should someone consider taking the lump sum versus monthly payments?
Yeah, certainly. Sometimes if you've left a job, you're not fully vested, or even if you are fully vested and the pension's a small amount, there may be some requirements that they want you to do something with that right away. They might be forced to pay it out. But I think really what we're talking about is those that have had long-term employment. There is lots of options, and one of them on the table is to take the lump sum. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Do I do that? That could be tempting. Do I take the income? Do I take the lump sum? How do I know I'm making the right decision? This is something, again, that we talk a lot about. How does it fit in your overall plan? There's definitely some key factors that we want to consider there. What your other assets are, what your age differences with your spouse might be, health conditions, that sort of thing. But you may not want the additional forced income or need the additional forced income. So this brings in some flexibility for growth that may be used for maybe inflation protection later or long-term care funding, those kind of things. So this can be a powerful tool as well, but you want to make sure that you're not sacrificing some other important things like a sufficient guaranteed lifetime income.
Makes perfect sense. And the other thing that I'm thinking about, Kevin, what about the tax implication if someone takes the lump sum? Is that a trigger there?
They're totally messed up.
Okay, I was going to say, because that's a huge amount of money that you're getting up front. So tax implications.
So let me just start by saying the word typically. This is what happens. Typically, it's treated as like a qualified pre-tax fund. So if you would take the lump sum, you would just roll that into an IRA, and there's no tax liability there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's typically the way it's treated.
They could take it out as cash, and your situation would be certainly correct, where you're going to have a large tax burden immediately.
Yeah, but a lot of folks don't know the differences there. They think, well, I'm just going to take that lump sum. They don't understand the tax implication of doing that. So working with a financial advisor like ourselves, we can show you all those hidden secrets or hidden tax implications for those things.
Yes.
Going back to what I was mentioning about the state workers, and a lot of times they have those pensions at different options. Sometimes the options will be you take the lump sum plus here's your benefit. Sometimes it's just the lump sum. Sometimes here's the benefit with no lump sum, or a partial lump sum with a higher benefit. So there's so many different factors that can go into that, and so many different choices that can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that you may get a menu of options that you can take, but you may also have the ability to specify. So say, I need X amount of dollars monthly income that I want guaranteed, but actually my pension would provide way, way more than that. So I have some options to split that up. And some of them are preset. Sometimes you have the ability to customize those yourselves.
Okay. I'm just imagining right now, we've got viewers in central Pennsylvania, and let's just say, for argument's sake, they're sitting at the kitchen table and they've got paperwork spread out in front of them, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do? What advice do you have to tell them to slow down and carefully consider these options, because they affect not only you, but what about your significant other? What advice do you have to those viewers at home?
Yeah, I think you're at a very critical time right now, and slow down is a very good first step. Slow down. Don't make those decisions until you've sat down with somebody and had a complete income review and a complete customized retirement plan in which your income is part of. So if you would call the number on the screen, 888-959-2743, or use the QR code, you'll be able to sit down some time with us. We'll be able to go through not only your pension decisions, but your entire retirement plan, because this is just a part of it. But it's going to impact a lot of what else goes on beyond your income level, your taxes, and your future of what your spouses may or may not need.
Most definitely. It's so important for people to pick up that phone today. Joe, thank you so much. And Kevin, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, once again, the number to call is on your screen. It's 888-959-2743. If you have questions about your pension and what options you have and the right fit for you, Don't miss the opportunity. Call in 888-959-2743, or we simply invite you to grab your smartphone, open up the camera app, and click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That's going to be the fast track to get on the schedule, of course, at First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I want you to step back and think a little bit about how does your pension income marry your Social Security, and how can this decision help impact thousands of dollars, if you will, for your retirement years. Stay tuned. We'll have that answer coming up.
How I got in the world of finance? My brother-in-law had a friend that was in the business, and he was looking to find an agent, and I was looking for a job. I was really hesitant, almost didn't do it. But then I thought, I got to have a job while I'm looking for a future, and so that's why I took it. And then one day I was asked to deliver a death claim check to a family. This was a very emotional situation, and my son was there watching this whole thing. So as I sat down and went over the amount of the money and how it should be spent, she was just up and hugging me and thanking me. And at that point in time, it hit me that what I'm doing is really important. It's not just being in the life insurance business. And so it was just a few months till I was independent. I couldn't do what I wanted to do as a captive agent. As an independent, it allowed me to be flexible with my time. And now the blessing is that Kevin, that young man I was talking about, he is now joining me in my practice. And his brother, Joe is joining me in the practice. So the future of First Choice Financial Services is in great hands.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DiFazio, joined today by Joe Deitrich and Kevin Deitrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And thank you for being with us. If you're just joining us in this segment, we're talking about having a pension in Central Pennsylvania. What does that mean for you, and how important are the options when you're deciding when to take your benefit? Tying into the word benefit, we're going to talk a little bit about Social Security. And so when you think about it, having a pension alone is a wonderful thing in Central Pennsylvania. But what about when you add in Social Security? What happens then? It doesn't exist in a vacuum. We're going to talk about that. So gentlemen, I should ask you overall, when someone is taking their Social Security benefits, how does having a pension affect those benefits? And when is the right time to start Social Security if you already have a pension in place?
Right, that's a great question, because it's like stacking benefits, stacking income, and sometimes, unfortunately, people don't realize this, but sometimes too much income is not good, because you look from a tax perspective, you're paying more tax on your Social Security benefit than you really should be paying on your Social Security benefit. So,
wow.
It's really important that if you have a pension, that you have a proper plan in place ahead of time. Then okay, we can tell you, okay, let's start taking your pension here, and then we can maybe delay your Social Security till a little bit later, get a bigger benefit, and then you have that spousal benefit that's going to be a little bit higher too. If something would happen to you, that your spouse would be left with a higher benefit at that time. So that's just proper planning, and that's really what we do here at First Choice, is have that customized complementary retirement plan that is specified to your situation. Whether you have a pension or not have a pension, whether your Social Security is high or low, whatever that might be, we can create that plan for you.
It is customized, absolutely.
Yes. Cynthia, you said something interesting when you were kind of introing that, and that is nothing happens in a vacuum. And we talk about that a lot. In your retirement planning, nothing happens in a vacuum. Your decisions for Social Security, which even without a pension is a big question. When do I take Social Security? Now we're adding in the complexity of your pension.
Yes.
How does that impact my overall, withdrawals from other accounts, or maybe even my Medicare premium? There's a lot of things that start going on here. So Kevin is right. Your customized retirement plan that we would lay out and timing, with specific timing of where we want to take that and why is a very important question. So understanding why you're making the decisions that you are. It may open up, tax planning that you wouldn't otherwise be able to take advantage of. So there's several elements you want to consider.
Yes, and I do want to talk a little bit about tax planning. I'm so glad that you brought that up, Joe, because obviously what should retirees know about taxes when you have pension income? Because that can be a big bubble. We should talk about that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that really sets us apart, we hear this all the time from our prospects that come in, they go to our workshops, they come in, they sit down with us, and what really draws them is our tax planning.
I'm sure.
Because most financial advisors do not do tax planning.
It's true.
They say just contact your CPA and they'll go through that process with you. But there's so much things, we don't do taxes, we're not tax professionals, we're not CPAs, we don't do taxes, but we do a lot of tax planning. We know the rules, we know how the withdrawals, how they're taxed, how the withdrawals from Social Security are taxed, pensions, all that stuff. So that's very important that we understand that. You understand it as a client, as you feel more confident in your plan and comfortable going into retirement.
Yeah, if you're not considering the tax implications of your investment decisions, your income decisions, then really we're kind of missing the whole point of the exercise, right?
Yes.
So that's very important. So yeah, your Social Security has its own tax structure that has several different rules, and we've done episodes on Social Security. I would encourage you to go look at those on our website or YouTube. But without getting into too much minutia there, you're going to have federal tax implications on your pension and your Social Security. The state of Pennsylvania is very, very favorable. They're not taxing generally retirement income in that sense. So that's a nice benefit. But you still are going to have to deal with your federal tax brackets on your Social Security. That's your floor now. Like Kevin said, that's your new floor. Add on Social Security on top of that. A portion of that may or may not be taxed. It might be zero taxed on it. If you have a pension, that's probably not your case.
Okay.
If you have a pension, you're probably going to have some tax on your Social Security. That might be 50% of it is subject to taxation, which means it goes onto your tax return. As much as 85% may be going onto your tax return. So those years that you're delaying and you're being very specific as to what you want to do with your income, you're trying to structure that tax return not just this year but in the future.
Yeah. Sure.
Joe's talk about 50%, 85%, and people are thinking maybe, what's that? What's he talking about? 50% tax on my Social Security?
Yeah.
That's called provisional income, and we talk about that at our workshop. So if you haven't been to our workshop, come on out and see us. You're going to learn a lot.
Yes.
But we talk about provisional income, and you might be sitting at home thinking, but Trump took away the tax on Social Security, right? Well, maybe. Yes and no. And so the one big beautiful bill had some laws, had some governance on that.
Absolutely.
And we talk about that at the workshop as well. So I'm sort of putting a plug into the workshop in case you didn't.
Yeah. Well, where would they be able to find that?
I was going to ask that same question. Let's talk about that. Where can they find the workshops?
Where's our next workshop at?
A couple weeks.
Yeah, look on our website. There's workshops all over Central Pennsylvania. Come on out and see us. But there is if you're only on Social Security,
yes,
you're probably going to be eliminating a lot of the tax on Social Security.
Okay.
But if you have a pension included in that, well, then you're in a different boat.
Yep. Okay.
So we need to make sure that you're aware of that, and the plan can allow for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so our website, right? FirstChoiceFinancialServices.com. FirstChoiceFinancialServices.com. Go to our website, look into our events. Drop down, you're going to be able to see that. And if you're also looking at our resources, you're also going to be able to find more episodes of Mid-State Money Talk that you can enjoy. But really, the best way to be able to find out how all of this is going to impact you is just to give us a call, come in and sit down and get your complimentary customized retirement plan. There's a QR code on your screen. As Cynthia said, use your camera, click on that. You'll be able to be in touch with somebody to set up an appointment or call the number on the screen, 888-959-2743.
Joe, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, once again, the number is on your screen, 888-959-2743, 888-959-2743, or simply grab your smartphone, open the camera app, click on the QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That's going to be the landing page of First Choice Financial Services, and you can schedule your time accordingly. We're going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about protecting your pension from things like unexpected health care costs. What about inflation? How can you make sure that your income is protected for retirement? We're going to talk about that next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
According to a recent Transamerica retirement survey, over 1/3 of American workers have already dipped into their retirement savings to handle day-to-day expenses. And nearly 40% have reduced their contributions. For those approaching retirement with significant assets, this may sound like somebody else's problem. But it's a warning worth noting. Economic pressure doesn't discriminate. High net worth individuals are just as vulnerable to reacting emotionally during times of financial stress. The key is discipline and a plan that evolves with the changing circumstances. Having a tax-aware, income-focused, and flexible strategy in place can help you avoid short-term mistakes that impact your long-term goals. Because real success in retirement isn't just about what you've saved, it's how you protect and use it.
Welcome back to Mid-State Money Talk. My name is Cynthia DiFazio, joined today by Joe Deitrich and Kevin Deitrich of First Choice Financial Services Incorporated. And to our viewers in Central Pennsylvania, we're talking about pensions today and how to blend that into Social Security and to make sure that you have reliable income for your retirement years. But what happens when life happens? What happens when the unexpected comes? What about rising healthcare costs or even a lifestyle change? We're going to talk about that right now and how you can protect your pension overall. And gentlemen, I'm glad that we're talking about that because we all know that sometimes life does not go exactly like planned. There's going to be some twists, some turns.
Does that happen?
I know, some unexpected things that come along, if you will. But let's talk about this. What's the biggest risk for someone who's living primarily on pension income alone, if you will?
Yeah, there's several risks. Inflation, longevity, how outliving your money.
Combined with inflation.
Correct.
Yeah.
I was getting there. He interrupted me.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's a brother thing.
Yeah. So I was getting there. And combined with inflation because things are rising. I always talk about this at the workshop. Like, remember when you first started driving, how much gas was?
Absolutely.
I started driving in I'm going to show my age here, 90.
Okay.
Something like that. And gas was like 97 cents a gallon. Now it's up to over $4 a gallon. That's over the last several years. But
Yes.
what about the price of a gallon of milk? Just over the last year or two. And that's going to keep rising. So if you only have pension income, that's pretty much stable because there's really a lot of times no cost of living adjustments to that.
Okay.
So we make sure that the inflation can actually erode that. Healthcare costs are going to continue rising. Long-term care, if you go into long-term care, a lot of times most of the time your pension will not be able to supplement that or pay for that long-term care. And even if you add Social Security to that, long-term care in Pennsylvania is $10,000 to $16,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a huge chunk of change.
Yes.
To be able to pay for that. So those are all things that we need to consider in the planning.
Most definitely. And also, I should ask you, Joe, what role does estate planning play overall when it comes to someone with a pension? How should they be thinking about that and approaching estate planning?
Yeah, it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? The pension is just one piece of the puzzle, and having a complete plan and understanding your other assets and your overall plan is very important. Kevin's right. So just the selection itself. For example, we have a client we're working with, and her husband is terminally ill. She has pensions that are available to her, and under those specific circumstances, she's actually able to name a child as the survivorship benefit to the pension.
Oh, wow.
So it's very unlikely that that the spouse is going to be around to even benefit that. So why do that, right? So now we're already transitioning income to the next generation. But that's just one example. Your pension decision may involve a lump sum benefit if you pass away early and you haven't really used up all of the value in that account as well. So even just the survivorship benefit or the selection is going to be important in your legacy planning.
Yep.
All of these things you have to consider and factor in because, again, everything is different for everyone. You have to make sure it's customized, and you gentlemen do that so well. What about people that they're thinking at the viewing audience right now, they're sitting at their kitchen table and they're like, you know what, I am receiving a pension, that's great, but how do I feel truly financially confident and ready to move forward?
Yeah. We talk about having stress-free retirement.
Yes.
And I think that's when you understand the decisions you're making and why you're making them, having a guaranteed source of income coming in to be able to pay your bills that are your needs, having some additional funds for your wants. You can really have a stress-free retirement, but that starts with being proactive and doing the planning. Sitting down with First Choice Financial and having a customized retirement plan specified to you and your situation. It takes off the risk management type of it. You don't feel like you're not sure what you're doing. You don't feel like you're just living every day. You're not sure what you're doing. Hey, I have a plan, and when this particular thing happens, I have money to be able to take care of that.
It's peace of mind.
Peace of mind. That's exactly right.
Yeah, the risk management piece is very important because don't assume just because I have a pension, I don't have to worry about risk anymore.
Right.
Like we said, inflationary expenses, could take that pension and erode its purchasing power over time.
Yes.
And if you haven't addressed the risk management, your investments, your growth opportunities, you may be in for a pretty bad surprise later down the
Yes.
road, particularly when we have RMDs that all of a sudden start coming into. We talked about stacking income, pension, Social Security, now RMDs on top of that. So it could be a kind of a tax snowball that you're not quite prepared for.
Taxes is the biggest thing that we see all the time. People say, what sets you apart from our other financial advisors is the tax planning.
I
Because,
can see that.
you know, my dad always says this, and I you know, he's not here, but he's always here because
Yes.
he's taught us a lot. That it doesn't matter what you make, how much money you make, it's what you're able to keep.
That's true.
That is very, very true. And so that's proper tax planning. It allows you to keep more out of your pocket and is left to beneficiaries rather than giving it to Uncle Sam.
And we always have to crystallize. We're not talking about going to your accountant once a year and preparing your return. We're talking about strategic tax
Yes.
planning for the years to come. There is a huge difference.
Amen.
So what final words of encouragement, Joe and Kevin, would you give the viewers in Central Pennsylvania that are holding a pension, if you will?
Yeah.
How do you encourage them and help them move forward with confidence?
If you're in the early stages and are not ready to make your pension decision, educate yourself. If you're on the verge of making that decision, slow down, come see us so we can talk through all of your decisions that you need to make and how it fits into your overall plan. And if you've already started your pension, still come in and see us because there could be some surprises that you don't know exist. We don't know what we don't know. So come in, give us a call at 888-595-2743. We would love to meet with you, sit down, and so that you have a clear picture of what your retirement looks like and that you can proceed into it with confidence.
Most definitely. And
Let
again,
me
Kevin,
just add something.
please.
We just had a gentleman that's in the same situation you're in. You're sitting there, you're not sure what to do. He was like 55 years old. He saw our program. He came in and saw us. He's a vice president of a major corporation in our area. And he came in and he didn't realize the tax implication of his huge pension, adding on Social Security, adding on RMDs. That's the money that you've put into your 401k, IRAs, that you have to start taking at age 73 or 75, and you got to pay tax on that. So those stacking up will take his Medicare premiums skyrocket.
Wow.
If we don't make some changes. Him coming in and being proactive, we were able to put a plan together. He knows at this particular time, these are the stages where I need to make these decisions. I'm going to be a great fit.
Kevin, thank you for sharing that. And Joe, thank you as well. To the viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today on Mid-State Money Talk. As we opened the show, we talked about you having a powerful vehicle to get through your retirement years, but it does need to be nurtured. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today. Take care. See you soon.